Love, sex, desire, drama, lovers, and the others. And we talk about it all here on Relationship Rhetoric. Greetings and welcome to Relationship Rhetoric. My couple that I have with me today, we have 20 years worth of history together. So I'm really excited about getting deep into their relationship before me. So we have Timothy and Dee Dotson of Inner City South. Welcome.
Thank you.
I thank you so much for being my first couple on the show. And I just want you to be yourself, be free, be honest. The premise of the show is to actually share your experience as being together and probably provide healing for some couples who don't have people to talk to, think they're out there by themselves. So again, share what you have and you have no idea who you may reach. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So tell me, Tim, about the moment you knew that you loved Dee.
Oh, wow.
Ooh, tell us. We all want to know. Yes.
Moment that I knew. Well, it's strange because Dee and I started off as a long distance relationship. And because I was in Nashville and she was here in Memphis, it took us a while to kind of say, hey, this is a long haul thing, because we both had our preconceived notions of what a long distance relationship was going to be like. So the moment probably was the second year we were together, and I came home for the summer, and I realized in the time of me going back to school that she had taken so much of who I was and kind of melded herself within my personality. You know, I'm one of those guys to where I'm more to myself, and she let me be more of me. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a solidifying moment to let me know that I really was in love.
I know, girl, so sweet.
You solidified.
I know.
Okay. Describe your first date. Tell me where, talk about the emotions. What was the end result of the night?
Okay, so our first date was Applebee's. Would you classify that as our first date?
I think it was.
So, he came, he picked me up from my apartment, and we had one prior conversation before the Applebee's date, in which he had shared a lot of things with me that I was like, no, this is not going anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So for me, the Applebee's date was more like, okay, let's go to Applebee's and chill out. I really wasn't anticipating or expecting anything. But we laughed a lot that day.
I called her alcoholic.
He called me alcoholic for the first time. And I was like, he knows my
you know
life.
the truth about me.
He knows me. How does he know? But I thought that his sense of humor was beautiful. And that's what I remember about it. I wasn't nervous because I didn't have any anticipation of anything, because I had kind of already put him in the friend zone. Mm-hmm. In my mind, I'd already put him in the friend zone. So Applebee's was just kind of like, hanging out with this guy that's cute. We're going to do the Applebee's thing. And he brought me home, and we said goodnight. He got back in his car, and that was the end of that. First date done. And I called my aunt, and I was like, yeah, I just went out with that dude, Tim. She was like, how was it? I'm like, oh, we had a good time. We laughed a lot.
Nice.
And it was cool. It was real relaxing. I felt chill, so it was good.
What was your perspective?
Kind of similar things. We both were kind of filling each other out. I think that I didn't know I was in the friend zone already. You know what I'm saying?
You was in the friend zone.
But even being in the friend zone, it was cool because I was leaving back for school soon, and I knew that if it was going to be anything, it was going to take some time to get there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it was a first date, but I think the thing that really kind of clicked with the first date was that we were having a good time at Applebee's. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing
We were
going
cutting
on.
up at Applebee's.
It wasn't nothing going on at Applebee's that was just going to keep us laughing the way we were. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Dee, how would you describe Tim to other people who do not know him?
It's kind of funny because I'm always describing Tim to other people who do not know him. And my description of Tim is a caring and upstanding, sensitive man who is intelligent and who has insight beyond the years that he's walked the earth. That he's able to tap into frequencies that a lot of people are not able to tap into because he cares, and his care and intellect propel him to connect to different frequencies with different people. I say all the time, you know, you may meet Dee and you may be like, she alright. You know what I'm saying? But if you say, I don't like Tim, I'm like, girl, something wrong with you. Mm-hmm. Or man, something is wrong with you, because really he is a reflection of the human condition. He feels that situation. He cares about that situation. And that's really how he conducts his life. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would describe Tim as being.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So now the two of you discuss the most memorable date that you two have had.
Oh, the most memorable date. Oh, you're really making it go deep into the recesses of our mind.
19 years together.
Right.
One of the most memorable for me was we took a dinner train.
Oh, yes.
We took a dinner train in Seattle. And we went to this winery, and it was beautiful. You know what I mean? I had dinner on the train, and it was my first time meeting her folks. You know, and I think it was most memorable because we went 3,000 miles away to see her family, you know what I mean? And just, you know, taking a chance on them saying, hey, I don't like this dude. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Who is this dude? Right. You know what I mean? So yeah, I thought it was memorable because they opened armed me, you know what I'm saying? And that was the beginning of that relationship, you know, as well as our relationship. In which even 19 years later, we still have a great relationship. I have a great relationship with my in-laws, and they support us. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like in all of the, you know, me leaving the bank and doing art for full time, they never once let me hear their disappointment in that. You know, they still supported us and got behind that.
Well, I think one of the most memorable dates for me was the date that my dad chaperoned. So my dad chaperoned us. I think it was our second date. It was our second date.
Go to a club together.
Yeah. So when Tim says he met the parents, that the Seattle trip was the official meet the parents. My father was just coming through town, so it really wasn't a meet. You know what I'm saying? It was like, Dad, I'm going out with this guy tonight, and he was like, well, I'm going.
Okay.
So he and Tim, it was a meeting, but it wasn't a meeting. Do you know what I'm saying? And I just found myself in a position where I'm saying, is my dad chaperoning me right now?
How old were you?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we
19 or 20.
Wow.
Yeah, and that we have a picture that commemorates.
Took one of them club pictures
at the little
club,
right?
Yeah, it was
so cool. I would say that was memorable because, hell, even as a teenager, I never did that.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting.
That is
hilarious.
But I would agree, babe. The dinner train trip was very special.
It was special.
And it was nice, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Now, tell us how Inner City South was born.
Girl, how much time you got? Oh my gosh.
Well, honestly, the year that we got married, which was 2002, within that year, we went to Washington, D.C. for a poetry contest that I had won. And after we really kind of got back from that, we kind of went full speed ahead with all inner city South type stuff. The group, of course, had started off with us and a few other members, and when it got down to the meat of it, this is the group.
Yes.
This is the group.
Yes.
And we found ourselves being able to do so much with the two of us being creative beings. When we first got together, I didn't know she wrote it all. So, once we...
And I had been writing since I was 7, so he had no idea that I wrote poetry or short stories or plays or anything like that. I didn't share that part of myself.
We put that chemistry together, and one thing that I love about how we began to write the plays is it started from the poetry.
Right.
And...
he would be writing me love poems all the time, girl. I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. I never write no love poems back, though, because I was like, I don't know. It was real cool, though, once we realized that we did. And the thing about the coolness of that as it relates to Inner City South was the creator didn't allow us to see that part of ourselves until we got married. We dated for 5 years. Never creating together, never writing together, just dating, doing the dating thing. And when we got married, that's when it was like, okay. Now, so we really got an opportunity to know each other and learn each other and become friends and understand each other inside and out before we even knew about the gifts that we shared.
Life partners.
Right, and life partners. Right.
Because, the truth of it was that I felt that I loved Dee early on, but I was kind of, didn't want to say I knew what that feeling was,
Right.
I was, it might be indigestion. Hell, I
Oh my God! Love feels like indigestion.
Sometimes love hurts.
I've heard everything.
I understood once I graduated and I got home, this was real. You know what I mean? It was time for me to either profess or move on, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to waste her time or waste mine as it relates to the future I saw in her.
And we had no idea that the future was going to be Inner City South and Tim and Dee.
We both thought it was going to be a corporate gig.
Yeah, we were both on a career track. I was wanting to be manager, and he was going to be this. And I envisioned maybe our life being, the white picket fence with the 2.5 kids, and I really was going to be okay with that. But I think God was like, no.
And when we say okay with it, I think not necessarily satisfied, but content.
Content. We would have been content.
What I mean?
Right.
But I think that this allows us to be more of ourselves.
Yes.
It allows us to take more chances on ourselves, and it gives me a great satisfaction when I see any of our projects come to fruition and know that it was on the strength of the two of us. You know what I mean? That even in this thing that we just did recently with the Memphis Black Expo, I felt like just coming together and seeing that come to fruition shows what we can do when we work as a team.
And I don't think we're ever not amazed at each other, because the process to get there is,
That poses the next question. So just give us a snippet of your creative process. When the idea drops, what happens?
A lot of disagreements commence. A whole lot of angry conversations in the creative realm began to happen, and then compromise begins.
Well, we're passionate. We're both passionate about what we see as even some of the characters that we create, down to the name.
We will argue about
Yeah,
a
I
name.
mean,
We
like-
will argue about a name, honey.
Like-
5 days of arguing about somebody's name.
In our play Remy, I had several character sketches of the same character, just had different names, and we would get confused. I'm like, wait,
What are we calling her again? Why are we calling her this? What is that?
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's a process though,
It
but
is.
I think it's all what I call magic, because magic is what you can't explain.
Absolutely.
And when we do come up with an idea that we want to stick with, one that we want to kind of flesh out, I think the major thing with the compromise is that I'll see the character fully through your eyes as well as mine, and say, okay, well, how can we kind of put both in the mix and make it more of a complex character? Because a lot of the people that we want to represent in our plays and in our poetry is about complexity of human nature.
Right. Mm-hmm. But so that process, I agree, it is magic. It's hard magic. But it's rewarding magic, because when you can sit back and see a product that you and your life partner came up with together, it's an accomplishment, like raising a baby and seeing it off to college. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we understand that the creative dynamic of our relationship is a gift. And we try not to take that for granted, because we know every couple does not have this type of creative chemistry together, this type of camaraderie, and this type of understanding. I'm not going to ask him why he got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go write a poem. I already know why. Because it was burning inside of him. It woke him up out his sleep, and he had to get that on that piece of paper. I'm not going to be curious about that or wonder, what's going on with that. So, in all the difficulty of creating the...
So that brings us to our next question. What is your creative process? When the idea drops, what happens?
A lot of arguing and disagreement in the creative space happens. We both are passionate about whatever it is that we're doing, and sometimes it takes us a long time to get to where we're both agreeing on something. You know what I'm saying? I think we both have a mutual respect for each other's creativity and ideas, but we're both dogged about what we want at the same time. So it's probably like 6 days of disagreeing and hashing out and throwing papers and throwing temper tantrums and calling people by names that we want to, characters by names that we want to call them, or saying we want the poem to go in this direction before compromise happens. So what do you think about 5 days of that? And then
I wouldn't say it's that extreme. I think that...
okay.
I think that, especially with the poetry, sometimes the poetry comes instantaneous.
Ooh, yes, that's true.
That's we could have a subject that we both feel strongly about and come at it from different angles, but the poetry sometimes really kind of shows the strength in our working together. And now I do agree, as far as the plays are concerned, there are a lot more arguments with the plays because we have
not arguments, sweetie,
discussions on which direction to take the character in. And I think the best way to describe how we get to the final product is finding the strengths and weaknesses of that character and finding the compromise within how we felt that it should go.
Exactly, because both of us, if I can prove to Tim my point and how it relates in the story,
and she thinks she's a detective, you understand? She thinks she got some CSI forensics,
right? So we just really try to work on the compromise after we hash out the creative spark. The creative spark really is the thing that we don't want to lose within the disagreements. So when the creativity starts to dissipate a little bit, then we know, hey, we got to pull it back and really start focusing on what we really are trying to accomplish with this story.
Now I'm going to classify myself as an idea man, but this one here will take that one idea and run with it. So what if we do such and such and such? Well, it could have this, and it could be pink, and we could ride it out on Labor Day. And, she just really takes it a step further with the detail. Okay. And I really appreciate that about her aspect of how we get to the final product, because a lot of times I'm just really kind of broad stroking, like, yeah, we can do this, this, and this, and that's how we get there. But it's a lot more steps in between that I think that she helps. Definitely color in the blanks.
Right, and Tim's writing is superb.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's a much better writer than I am. Like, I feel like that's where we again have that yin and yang. I can say, he can drop the idea, I can flourish it and make it big, and then he can put it on the paper to where maybe I wouldn't have been able to in a way that he does. You know what I'm saying? So I think as long as when we're focused on what the ending is, that's when that's when we get the most work done. If we start to get too caught up in our own, but at some point in the creative process, the story begins to tell itself. Yes. And then we're not really having to write it. We're just letting the story follow. Absolutely. Right. But in the beginning, there are some ups and downs, but sooner or later the story starts to write itself. So.
Well, let me personally thank you for the Egypt Steele.
Oh, the
allowing her to.
Yes, Well, we want to thank you because we've been family for 20 years, and you've been there for every part of our journey, be it our relationship or Inner City South. You work our events for us, and
I'm just glad to see you doing this.
Yes. I'm
glad to see that you're trying to help people in relationships because our community is built by family. And if we get our families strong, our communities will be stronger, and our nation will be stronger. So when we start thinking about the particulars and the people that help us get to where we're going,
you're definitely in that number.
I mean, not in the number. You're the number.
You're the number, yeah. So we're really proud of you for stepping out on stage and opening yourself up to our direction and our vision. And you rocked the stage when you did it. And so when you thank us, it's kind of funny because we're like, haha, we're winning because you came. We're winning. But you welcome, girl.
Tell us what we can do
you
for you.
Girl. You welcome.
That's what's up.
Okay.
Back on track.
Yeah.
Describe how it felt when you first performed together.
Okay, so we have to clarify this because when Inner City South first got together, we were a 5-member group. That was a different feeling performing together than the first time Tim and Dee performed together.
Tell me that feeling.
It felt like breathing. It did.
It felt like, when you're on the swing and you go back and you go up real high and you come back and your stomach do that little flutter.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me because it felt like when I got off the stage, I'm like, I need that feeling again. I need it. I mean, right now, if y'all got it, somebody carried it up for me. Right. But I mean, seriously, it felt like that adrenaline rush that I needed to have over and over and over again. Now, I don't know if it's the same way for Dee, but when we started doing it more regularly, it started to become less of it was nerve-wracking because I didn't want to let her down. You know what I mean? Like, I've got up there and messed up a piece before by myself, and it wasn't no big deal. But, if I dropped a line or if I forgot something, I'm leaving her out there hanging,
Because it's centrally every aspect of our relationship is about accountability.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about our marriage or whether we're talking about the business of Inner City South, it's all about accountability. It doesn't work if we are not doing our separate parts. So yeah, I agree. It felt natural to me to perform with Tim. Yeah. It felt regular. It didn't feel like anything that was hard or, it just felt regular.
Performing with her, we had a catering business, working in the kitchen with her. You know what I mean? Anything that we've ever attempted hosting shows, we have done it to a level because we believed in each other.
Right.
And I didn't feel like I was going to fall if I failed, I wasn't gonna fall completely because she had me.
And we know each other's potential. So when you're not coming with it, the other will be like, you're not really coming with that.
And
you know?
neither one of us have any problems telling that.
Right.
Whether it's real or
Well,
it's
I
not.
do. I keep things to myself sometimes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Not really, but yeah. But so yeah, it's really again something that we feel like it's a gift, something that we don't take for granted because every couple doesn't have a situation where they can be married and then be creative and then we also perform together and we do run our catering business together and some of these things are not anything that you can work on. Some of these things are just art and their chemistry. Absolutely. And it's what it's supposed to be. And so we don't question it. We just roll with it. When it stops working, we'll do something else.
Absolutely. So let's shift gears for a second, okay? Describe your parents' relationship and how did it have an impact on how you behave now?
I'll start that off.
Start it off, Daddy.
I grew up in a single parent home with my mom, and I ended up around 6 or 7 having a stepfather. So it's kind of a little disconnected because my stepfather and my mom didn't really last very long in their relationship, but it did show me a lot of the things that I wanted to make sure I didn't do as a man in my life, and how I wanted to make sure that I secured a future for my family, and the one that I secured for my family, I wanted them to be proud of, And success isn't always a monetary thing, Sometimes you have to look at success of the people that you affect, and I really am proud of the work that we've been able to do that have affected so many lives, whether it be the people that we put on stage or the audience that come and see our plays, and the people that get something from the poem that we made, deliver. I really feel that is a success that, hey, I can die tomorrow, and I've accomplished some things with my art, with my wife, and it's a delicate balance, because we worry about that sometimes, about the balance, and we worry about how to keep everything fresh and new and keep it desirable. The most important part of Inner City South is Tim and Dee. So we have to make sure that Tim and Dee are correct, before we can kind of keep venturing on into other things. So we've taken an assessment of that, and taken an assessment that we come first, the business comes second, but even within the business coming second, it is still a part of us. We're not alchemists to where we can kind of separate it from being who we are, because it is part of who we are, but the more important part of who we are is us.
And I think that's what my parents, the relationship that my parents had, taught me, was that I grew up watching my family grow together. You know what I mean? Like, my parents grew together. They each started out being individuals, of course, and then I was able to watch how they figured out how to go from individuals to being one unit. And because I grew up military, my father, he would be on tour, he would be in Korea, or he would do whatever, and sometimes it would just be Mom and my brother and I, and she went from a unit of 2 to being a person of 1, and seeing how when Dad comes back after a year being gone, what that has to happen to get that stuff back on track. And I think watching my parents figure out how to go from individuals to a unit helps me in my relationship, because I saw all the struggles, I saw all the growth, I saw all the times where neither were able to compromise, but then saw what reconciliation and compromise looked like, what happiness looked like, what success looked like, what we looked like when we didn't have anything to eat or couldn't pay bills, what we looked like, and So I feel really blessed to have had that type of experience and still do have that type of experience in my life because it really does help my marriage. It goes back, I told my husband, I said, I'm not going to be down for a whole bunch of arguing. And I think we've pretty much stuck to that for 20 years. We're going to talk this thing out. We're not going to be screaming, hollering. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be doing all of those things because we really want to get to the core of the problem as quick as we can so we can go head on and move back to ecstasy and comfortability and love and all of that. So having Tim coming from an aspect of a single parent, me coming from an aspect of a 2-family home, he had aspirations of who he wanted to be because of his experience, and I had aspirations of what I didn't want to be and what I wanted to maintain from watching my parents. And I think that those two sides really have helped our relationship a lot.
Very nice. Very nice. So, discuss what life has been like dealing with sickle cell.
Challenging, rewarding, it has kind of taken my capacity, what I thought my capacity for pain, for struggle. I realize that I'm a lot stronger than I think I am, and that really at the end of the day it really is about mind over matter. It really is about certain things happen to you. It could be sickle cell, it could be cancer, it could be diabetes. It's not the thing that's happening to you, it's what you're doing to combat that, to, one of the biggest issues is that feeling of, why me? Why is this happening? When you get caught up in all of those kinds of feelings, you lose the focus of life. And I realize that some things happen to people, some things have happened to me because I'm strong enough to be the voice to get the word out. And so as it relates to sickle cell and me, that's the way I've decided to live my life. I've decided that sickle cell is something that happens. It's not new to the world, but it affects Black people mainly, and there's not a lot of education about it. And so how I deal with pain episodes, I think about what else I can do. And my mother, she has the sickle cell trait, and she has sometimes she has symptoms of sickle cell pain and things like that. And, my main message as it relates to sickle cell, and then I don't want it to just make it about sickle cell. I want it to make it about any kind of detrimental illness or anything that happens to you. You were chosen for a reason. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is put on earth for a particular purpose. And it's not really for us to question why we were put on the earth for the purpose. It's for us to get about the purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's how I deal with sickle cell.
Absolutely.
What is the purpose? What is my purpose? How can I, within helping myself, help others to not have the why me syndrome, to not have the woe me syndrome, to say, hey, this is happening to me, but it is not me.
Right.
I am more than this.
Right.
And that's really what I want to represent. I don't want to represent a side of sadness or a side of desperation or a side of hopelessness. I want to live my life in a way where people say, oh, look at what Dee is doing.
Absolutely.
Look at how Dee's working through that pain. Look
Absolutely.
at how Dee's keeping her head up. And that's really where I focus, and I try not to focus past that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If your relationship was a play, poem, book, or song,
Ooh, juicy!
what would the title be?
What would the title be?
Chasing Destiny.
Oh, that's good, honey. That is really good. Chasing Destiny.
I love it.
That's good. Well, you kind of got a little something going on with that.
Okay. Yeah. Share a nugget of wisdom with couples out here seeking longevity in love.
I'm sorry, go ahead, honey.
I think for a couple looking for longevity in love, first, it can't just be about love. People understand love as being an emotion that can be fickle, but you have to combine love with respect and compromise in order to have a long-lasting combination to get you further than where love is going to limit. I think sometimes, people fall in love, but they fall out of love too. But when you have a respect for a person, and in combination with a love for a person, you see your reflection. You see who you are in their eyes, and that's important. It's important because when it all boils down, you want to make sure that you don't do anything that's going to disrespect that person, that's not going to embarrass or put them in harm's way, these types of things. And that has degrees. Harm's way could be going out and being seen at some restaurant with some chick that is not my wife, but we're just having a good time, you know what I mean? But I represent her. She represents me, regardless of where we go and who we're with.
Or if we're together.
That's the one thing about as much time as we spend together as friends, as husband and wife, as a business couple, we spend a lot of time together. And even when I'm out doing my own thing, where's Dee? That's the question. And that's a legitimate question.
Absolutely.
It's a legitimate question because they've seen it, they've witnessed it, they have come to their own conclusions of what it is.
Absolutely.
I just have to define it for myself.
Right.
So if I want to tell anybody out there that's trying to kind of really go in for the long haul, you have to do it by combining the love that you have in your heart for this person with the mindset that I'm going to respect them at all costs.
Because really, if you don't have respect, you really don't have anything.
Right.
I mean, that's really the truth. One of the things that, as Tim and I go along in our marriage, that I'm learning daily, and that I feel like we do an okay job at, which I would suggest couples who are seeking longevity to do, is allow your mate to grow, and as an individual. And as they're growing as an individual, you adjust the relationship. You cannot expect your 15-year relationship to be the same way it was year one.
Right.
You're just not gonna. It's not gonna work. You have to say, well, Tim has grown in these aspects of who he wants to be as Tim. And if he can't fully accomplish who he wants to be as Tim, then he can't be the kind of husband I need for him to be. Because there's going to be parts of him that's lacking, parts of him that are not being fulfilled, and then that's going to distract from the whole. So it's okay that we as a couple change how we feel about things and our minds and what's acceptable in our relationship and what isn't acceptable in our relationship. We do things now in our relationship 20 years in that we would have never done 6 years in. Are you kidding me? We would have never done that.
Not have been comfortable.
It would not have been comfortable enough. So you as an individual person within the unit should feel free to be able to grow within the relationship, and your mate should be able to recognize growth and together make adjustments within the relationship to accommodate the individual growth.
I agree.
There you have it, beautiful people. We've had a wonderful interview with Tim and Dee.
It was so fun.
Thank you again
Thank you.
so much for coming.
Thank you.
Each show will end with a notion of love that I want people to take with them, carry with them throughout the week, to think about in choosing who they want to be their life partner or even date. Okay?
Sex.
So our notion was chosen especially
Desire.
for you all. Fall in love with the person who enjoys your madness,
Lovers.
not the person who forces you
And the
to be normal.
others.
This has been Relationship Rhetoric. I'm your host,
We talk
Unapologetically
about
Angela.
y'all
I'll see you
here
soon.
on relationship.
Peace, love, and enlightenment.
Thanks, Angie.
Love, sex, desire, drama, lovers, and the others. And we talk about it all here on Relationship